All right. I haven't really known how to start this. So I'm kind of just going to start. I would like to first start with the disclaimer to all my peoples. Anybody who knows me, who cares about me, who has, looked out for me or worried about me in the past, if you have anything that you don't want to hear about me, because you don't want it to change how you think about me or anything like that, then click off this video and don't come back to it. Just say you're all good. For anybody who doesn't really know me and you don't really know what you're getting into, I would suggest just unfollowing me and not really worrying about anything moving forward in terms of me. I want to turn this platform into something I feel good about, and for a long time I would say my greatest fear was to be full of shit, and I've never really felt full of shit. I feel like I'm honest for the most part. It's just in this past, I would say 6-ish months, I've never felt more isolated, disconnected from what's going on in my head to what's playing out in real life. So my goal with this is to kind of get everything up to speed in terms of what I put out and what I want to do moving forward. That way I can get these ideas out, because I have some things I really want to do, but I just feel like I haven't been building in a way that's honest to myself. So I would like to be honest with myself and cultivate and create a community that's supportive of me being me. So if that's not you, just click off and I'll see you in real life and just say what's up and go. What kind of brings me into this conversation, and I'm gonna do my best to keep it brief and not get too detailed, is who I am as a person has been challenged in a lot of different ways. And in that challenge, I've set myself up to, prove some things to myself. Last year around this time, told myself I'm not going to contact my counselor for a year. And on February 24th, it will be a year to the day. And I'm excited to reach out to her again and kind of touch base. I didn't explain anything to her. It was just something that kind of popped into my brain and just felt right. And the things that I've learned with her over the years are that, I've tried to learn to trust my intuition a little bit. And in the past, my intuition has not been something that I, loved too much, or at least treated like a useful tool. And in my relationship and dynamic with my counselor, I started to kind of have her as a voice of reason, or something I bounced ideas off in my head, and each week we would talk about stuff and feel good. But it felt like there was, I was getting support in who I was, kind of like she was my Jiminy Cricket. She was my little conscience, and I didn't know if I was capable of doing that on my own. So over the course of the last year, I've dealt with every up and down, high and low, without having that thing as anything more than a strong base in my mind. And it's been really tough. I've struggled, and I've put myself in the position where like it could have all ended, back in, right now it's mid-February, back at like late or mid-October, like I had an attempt, I had a little run through with my brain, and I tried to self-delete, to be blunt, and just didn't really work out in a way that made sense. So in that process, or through that process, I thought of some things that I care about and wanted to kind of clear some things up. So there was a moment last year where when my nephew died, I was at with my boy crossing Fort Vancouver, and we're doing quarterfinals, and I get the call from my sister that my nephew died, and that shit was hard, heavy hearing. But there was a conversation I had with my older brother, and he got the call, and right when I think my younger sister called my older brother, not my sister of my nephew who passed, but my older younger sister. She called him, and his first thought, like when he heard her voice, was that, like, so somebody's dead, and he didn't know what it would do if he like heard it was me. And I thought about that, on the night when I'm going through my shit, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I hadn't seen my brother in a minute, and I wanted to see him, before I did something that meant like he would never see me again. And through October, and I had an opportunity to go see my brother. I made an opportunity to go see him in November, and put me on this wild road, where I had like these things in my brain, like, oh, I'm gonna do this first, before something else happened. And the only reason I'm saying something else and being kind of vague or cryptic is because I don't know if this video will even stay up if you talk about suicide say. But I don't know why I feel like this is useful. It's just something that's like on me. And the reason I feel like it's on me is because I get into these conversations when I don't want to, or when I don't bring them up, and it feels a little techie. I'm not trying to trauma dump on people in inappropriate situations. So I'm more like trying to put this out in a way that is cultivated and curated by me. It's my control. And, that's that. So with this, like a few things that I think go into the makeup of me, or the build of myself, my personality, and who I am, or who I choose to be. Like I've had an attempt in the past, like when I was like 13, made a video and shit. I like didn't really understand or know how to do it, but it's not as easy as you think, or at least I think it's always harder. And there's been something like an undertone in my life and in my brain that if I can imagine or envision myself dying, it's like by my own hand. It's never like in a certain situation. It's kind of something I've always thought was like my path or my way to go. And it's like it's not a negative thing to me. I'm not trying to make light of it, but it's something I've been dealing with for a long time. I've always had, trouble expressing myself, asking for help, different things like that. And I think a lot of times when it comes to these situations, people take things personally and they say, oh, all you gotta do is reach out, all you gotta do is... With me, it's, I have some complex things about my simple presentation of my personality. And I haven't dug too deep, but complex PTSD is something that, I think I deal with, and I have my own ways of dealing with it. But when I was growing up, I went through some tough situations, and I went through them alone. This is kind of the reason I want to bring this stuff up. On Super Bowl Sunday, we're at the house, or my uncle's house, and in his movie room, my kids are in there fucking around, and my youngest daughter's yelling and freaking out because they're tickling her, so she's all screaming. I keep being like, hey girl, chill out, quit yelling, you don't gotta yell, we're in the house, quit yelling. They're playing, it's not like she's being tortured. So it was fun laughter and shit. And my uncle says some stuff. He's always had this thing that he said since I was a kid, he said he does. Suffer in silence, suffer in silence. And I grew up saying that shit to my kids, and my kids still know that. But a few years ago, 3 years ago, I started thinking about what that shit meant to me and what it did to my brain. because I took things very literally. And when I was growing up, I was going through a lot of suffering. And in this situation specifically, before I go flashback, like I told my daughter, like, hey, don't listen to him. You know, don't listen to what he's saying. Don't suffer in silence. We don't do that shit. Because the way I took things, I took things very literally. When people said certain things, it's like it always kind of stuck with me in the way that they said it. And I took things that maybe in a certain context make sense, but I applied it to other contexts in life that put it to where I was like isolating myself pretty much all the time. And in this specific situation, if I flash back, you know, I when I was like age 6, 7, I was kind of groomed a little bit by these boys in the neighborhood. And then from there, I was like, in various forms and fashion, passed around sexually and put in adult sexual situations with, you know, people who are bigger than me, and kind of, I don't know, I got put in a position where I had to fend for myself, or at least felt that way, and, you know, got some dick shoved in me, and, you know, sucked some dicks, and it was like for years I kind of got passed around from one boy to the next boy to the next boy. There was like a group of, you know, a few of them, and that shit fucked with me. Like, in my development, I developed a certain way. So like 7, 8, 9, and 10, it's like my brain was going through a lot of shit. So I grew up fast and kind of on my own, because through all that, you know, I suffered in silence. And, you know, I didn't complain or bitch to complain to other people. Or, that's kind of the way I took it. That just, I needed to be tough. And, you know, when I was tough enough, I wouldn't have to deal with that shit no more. It's kind of what made sense to me. So, like, in my development, yeah, it took me a while to reach out to anybody and ask for help in a way that was meaningful. I tried in various forms or fashions that made sense to me. It was kind of like a cry for help for me, but it just didn't land with the people I was doing it with. And then, you know, I'm 36 now, but when I was like 30, 31, I would, you know, went to a counselor because my friend, at the time, I don't even know if she's my friend anymore, because her bitch ass husband's a motherfucker and we don't really get down with each other. But yeah, someone who I loved and cared about and trusted, and I was like, yo, I think you should go see a counselor, like, for real. But from working with a counselor, I was able to kind of dig into some of these things and put myself in a position where I understood there were tools and meaningful ways to kind of manage the stresses that come along with the process of developing the way that I did. So the situation with the Super Bowl and my daughter is like a lot of things in my life currently. I've kind of tried to reshape and reform, and in that I want to start to do the same thing, you know, online. And I don't want to be false. I don't want to be dishonest, and I don't want to be, you know, afraid to be vulnerable. So I want to tell my story and kind of spit shit out the way I see it. And I have this, you know, group of guys that I work with, and even in me, like, saying things, just simple things that happen in my life, my approach to sex is, you know, different than a lot of people's, and my appreciation for women is different than I think a lot of people's. But there are things like, just for me, like telling stories of, not details, but, you know, oh, I've been in this situation, I've been in this situation, yeah, this is just normal sharing things, not like, you know, hero stories or horror stories like that, like horror stories, but just like my experience. You know, dudes be kind of throwing shit. You hate women. You don't care about women. You don't love women. And I've come to understand some things about myself and about my approach to a lot of different things. I talk about women a lot because it's like an easy topic for me to to talk about sex. But same thing applies to, the gym, and same thing applies to work and things of passion, relationships, all these things. It's like I like to teach, like to each their own, and everybody's got things that make sense to them. And I'm always trying to learn and always trying to, I won't say improve, because self-improvement gets a little fucking frustrating and exhausting. It's like I don't always want to have to improve. So there's like a growth and retreat element to everything. So I try and stay in that space. But right now where I am in my life, I feel like there are a lot of things I want to do, and moving forward in the things that I do, I want to build from a place of honesty. And I'm not saying I've been dishonest in the past. It's just there are things that get stuck here, and then I don't feel authentic. And it's been feeling more and more like that moving forward. And I'm not saying I'm trying to be disrespectful or talk shit to people or do any of that, but there are ways that I think and things that I believe in, and I just want to make those things known. And in making them known, my goal is to continue to have a conversation. And I'm not saying I know everything or that what I think is the only thing. It's just I kind of want to connect with people, for real. I've never felt so alone in my life, and I don't think that's like the best place for me. This is not me saying I have a terrible life. I got people that care about me. I got a lot of people that care about me, and people that know me. People I've shared things with, whether it's like a day or life or experience or conversation, whatever it is. I have kids who love me and who I love, and I have people that worry about me a lot, and it's not always easy for me to participate in these relationships because I can't get past my own head. What I wanted to start to do is kind of break down some of the things in here, helping conversation. Like conversation typically is helpful to me in general. It's easy for me to talk and to share, and I think sometimes people I care about or who care about me have a hard time hearing it. But I can't really, I don't want to bottle all my shit up to preserve everybody else. I'm kind of sick of that. So for anybody who feels uncomfortable in having these conversations, like their conversations are for you, and if it's even one person, man, if I can have it with one real life person and not someone that I'm paying to listen to my shit, it's I think it's useful. So that's what this shit's for. That's why this is out there. That's what I'm trying to put out, is that like, who I am is meaningful to me, and I don't want to cut myself off to make other people happy or to represent something. I just want to be myself and be okay with that. So what I would like to do moving forward with social media things, or at least with YouTube and Instagram, is allow myself to be me. And for anybody who's not, with that, that's all good. Unsubscribe and unlike and unfollow. And if I see you in real life, it's all love, man. I don't got no animosity to nobody. There's some people I don't like. Fuck Basil, and Dick Cab. Fuck that motherfucker too. Other than that, though, I it's all love. And even with that, it's all love. It's just, fuck you. I want to get this out because I really have some things I want to do, and I don't want to hold myself back. So, honest, authentic, hell yeah. That's what it is. The live, laugh, love shit is like, I want to do that for myself as well. So This is me trying to put it out there and let it land where it does.